So we go back to this racer class, and that has a method called use transportation. So earlier we used to have this interface here. So we just made one minor modification where we have car. So car and the type of car, right? So now if we want to use this use transportation method, uh, how can, so we'll have to pass either the object of car or any of its subclasses. So we'll look at some examples, but so you can pass in the instance of car or any of its subclasses also, right? Because parent object can hold a reference to one of any of its child classes. Okay. So now let's say my car dot drive. Uh, so what method? So you remember, right, that car has a drive. That we have seen that just a few slides back. So car has a drive, and all its subclasses also have overridden the drive method, and they provide their implementation. So now when you say my car dot drive, would the drive method of the car get called, or would it be the drive method of one of its subclasses? Right? That can be a question, right? So, so at a high level, what this indicates is whatever instance that you pass. Let's say you pass in the instance of convertible. So the convertible class would know how to drive or how to use the drive, right? And if you pass sedan instance, then the sedan would know how to drive. So the drive that is specific to that particular class or the type would get called. So if you call this with the convertible instance, then the drive method of the convertible would get called. So if you call it with sedan instance, then the my car would now be referring to the sedan's instance, and the drive method would be of that of the sedan, defined within sedan. Correct. Okay. So are there any questions so far before we move on to this short quiz? Okay, so let's say you have this car convertible, and then you are using the child class here. So the object here is of type car, but on the right hand side you are creating an instance of the one of its child, which is convertible, and this is okay because this is more general and this is specific, right? So you can do the assignment in this direction, but you cannot do it in the opposite the way. So for example, you cannot say convertible C equals new car, right? So this is same as the one from the interfaces. So you can say interface, let's say this is an interface transporter. So you can say transporter T equal to new car if car implements the interface. So now you can call the use transportation method by passing in the reference of the car type. So next one. So is this legal in terms of Java syntax? So assuming that sedan is a child of car.
So, yes.
Yeah, so this is also legal, right? So what about this one? So now bike is not a child of car, but we are still using this. So do you think this is correct?
Not legal.
Yeah, this is not legal, right? Because it's not a subclass of car. So yeah, that's why you cannot treat an instance of bike as a car. So here in this case, you can say that every sedan is a car and every convertible is a car, and that's why this sort of assignment is okay. But in this case, we cannot say that every bike is a car, right? So that's why it is not legal. So are there any? Let me just check the chat. Are there any other questions? Okay. So yeah, so that's how we'll be making use of this inheritance, right? And polymorphism. We have seen that with the use transportation, the interface example. So in this case, if we add more new things, right? Like in this case, if you add more cars, more types of cars, then we only need to change only few lines. So in this case, you simply say car, whatever is the new type of car, let's say sports car equals new sports car. And then in this line, you just simply call the instance of the sports car, right? So only these two lines need to be changed. But on the racer side, you don't need to change anything. That can still be my car. So for example, in this racer class, you can keep this constant, right? Which was also the case with interface. So even though the number of types of cars increase, you can still keep part of the code unchanged. So that's the advantage here.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So like in the interfaces, when we define, when we used the term transport equal to new and the class that is implementing that particular thing, then when we used a particular method on that transport object, then it should only be the object of that transporter interface. It should not be of any other thing. So, sir, in this case, if we are using any parent class to refer to an instance of the subclass, so is it always necessary, like when I refer to a method of that object, is it always necessary that it should be always be a method of the parent class and not of the subclass?
No. In this case, you can call any method, right? So it can be a method in the parent class, or it can be a method in the subclass.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. So just to summarize, right? So method resolution, as we discussed, it will climb up the hierarchy, meaning it will start with the it is first try to locate the method on the instance on which you called. So let's say Porsche P dot drive. So it will look for drive in Porsche, and if it's not found, then it will go to the parent class. And if it's not found even there, then it will keep going the hierarchy, and until it either finds it, or if not, it throws error. Right. So polymorphism, again, it's a powerful tool in the sense that you can only talk about it in the abstract level details, and leave the implementation specific things to the classes, right? The classes that are implementing it. So in that sense, it's used for generic programming, so to say, and you leave the specifics to the class, right? So that is just a summary of whatever we have seen so far. Okay, so now another question. So you have two classes here, animal and the elephant. So elephant inherits from animal. Animal is the parent class, elephant is a subclass. And there is a method called eat in both the classes. So you have eat of the animal, and now elephant has overridden this eat and provides its own implementation. So now if you call horton.eat, right, whose eat is being called? So what do you think is the case?
Elephant.
Right. So yeah, it is that of the elephant, because this instance is pointing to the instance of an elephant, right? So so although you are using the the superclass, the parent class type, but they is still pointing to the instance of this one. So so it is referring to the eat of the elephant here, and not the eat of the animal, right?
Sir,
Huh.
in this example, like would Horton be able to execute methods of elephant class?
Yes,
Like
so
under
it can. So it can do so. So I mean, yeah, we can either. You can definitely. I mean, you can also call other methods of the elephant class. Um, yeah. So if you want to, we can check it. But yeah, I don't have to. I guess. Do you want to
Excuse me,
quickly
sir.
check it?
no, it's fine.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Can you repeat which eat method was being called here? I missed that.
Or I'll just say parent class.
It was
Oh yeah, it's the which eat is it? So it's the eat of the elephant here, the
okay.
subclass.
Yeah, okay.
So we can have this, let's say, public void eat, for example. Um, right, and then you create one more class. Let's say child class, and here we can have the, and then we can extend that, right, and so we can add a few. So we have eat of the child class, and then let's add another method. Let's say drink. Right, and then we can test it out. So we can just say uh, parent class p equals new child class, and p dot eat. So let's see what it says. Okay, so I don't know if it's clearly visible, but so it says eat of the child class. So you will get the, so it will be calling the eat of the child class here, right? Because the instance is that of the child class, and you also have overridden it. So the priority is this one takes priority over the one that is in the parent class. So the other question is, I think it will just show up here. So okay, so I don't see. Okay, so I think I gave the wrong answer. Yeah, so I can't call drink, right? So if you have the drink here, so it will simply say is undefined, right? So the first one is correct. In this case, going back to the example here. So Horton dot eat would call the eat of the elephant, but you cannot use Horton to call the other methods of the elephant, which is same as the interface, right? So even in the interface, you cannot use this reference to call other methods of the implementing class methods, apart from the ones that are declared in the interface. So in the same way, so you can't use this to call drink, for example.
So could you show the parent class just for a sec?
Sure, sure. So parent class is, it has only one method, which is eat. And then I'm extending that in the child class using, and then I use the parents class reference to call the eat.
So if there is another method in like parent class, would P be able to call it?
Yes, yes. So yeah, that's the, so for example, yeah, we can do that. Let's say we don't override that. Say public void, let's say walk. Uh, say walk of the parent. So that is also inherited, but yeah, you are not overriding it, right? So
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
So then could you please, like, if this is the case, then can you please tell us again the what is like the benefit of doing that? Parent class P is equal to new child class. While why cannot I do the same things with child class P is equal to new child class?
So
Like,
you can do that. So okay. So the idea here was to keep it general, right? So uh, going back to this one. So let's say there is, so in the racer you are using the parent class in type, But let's say there are new types of cars later on that you want to add it to the code. Something like, say, sports car, or I don't know, like whatever other, let's say, type 2 car, right? So now you would have to change the other parts of the code, but for this part of the code can remain the same, right? Because use transportation is only interested in the driving part, and now you can delegate the drive that is specific to the instance by just using the parent class, right? So you can let's say if you pass the convertible instance, the drive of the convertible would get called. If you use the instance of sedan, then the